your name? Don't you play this game? You from another land, got you like it's contraband. Tell me what's your name? Don't you play this game? You from another land, got you like it's contraband.
What's up, guys? Keyshawn Uchiha here, back at you with another new motherfucking Ultimate Universe video. Well, let's just say that. Pretty much, this is going to be the part 1 of what if Sakura was Dio Brando, but had shadowed the world. Now, many of y'all guys have seen JoJo Bizarre Adventures. Y'all seen Shadow Dio. And really, he didn't really have the Shadow of the World. It really wasn't a stand. It was kind of in the video game, but it's kind of also on Roblox. But yeah, y'all get what I'm saying. Shadow of the World deal. What's the abilities? What I'm gonna add for the abilities? How this is gonna go? How will Sakura become a vampire / stand user? And how the fuck is this story gonna work in this Ultimate Universe? Well, I got luck for y'all guys. Sit down, relax, eat your popcorn. I don't know, eat your food, play video games while listening to this, have your headphones on, do whatever. This is going to be what if Sakura had shadowed the world in Dio Brando. But let's get started. So, how would we start this off? We're going to start this off pretty much as the same thing. Everything happens the pretty much the same way, but it's going to be a little bit of extra detail now. Now, we're going to start with the vampires, the Pillar Man. Now, the Pillar Men going to be way beyond. They're going to be in this universe. We're going to say the Pillar Men, pretty much nothing special. They are well known in the Shinobi universe, but they was well hidden. I'm talking about the Pillar Man was powerful, strong, and they helped out some of the villages just to get resources, and that's it. But other than that, they won't take any higher missions up to killing someone, starting a war, because they're not trying to get involved with that. Because they have one person who's intelligent. And I'm going to say this is the Pillar Man that pretty much believed in this one person. And that was Cars. Yes, Cars will be in this. But pretty much, this is where Cars pretty much is testing out a mask and stuff. And pretty much, sorry if I destroyed your ears, let's continue. This is where pretty much, the Pillar Man will be pretty much in the Naruto universe. But, like I said, they are pretty much well known, but also, infamously, as they don't, they don't be really getting involved with mean things. Because if the Pillar Man got involved in war and shit, then they most likely would get attacked by other villagers or people who want them dead, because how dead they are. This is where pretty much the Pillar Man will be in hidden, and they are very well known hidden. Since they don't have chakra, but they're, you could say, think of Pillar Man as vampires, but the originals. They can't get killed by, Hamon and all that shit. They have to, they can't really. We're just going to do it by the manga, how Pillar Man can't really get killed or injured by Hamon, so yeah. And plus, Shinobis don't have Hamon, but they have Jutsus, but the Jutsu's not going to really do anything to Pillar Man. But let's continue. Pretty much, this is where the Pillar Men did all the work and stuff, and they are well known. But some of the Pillar Men have, left their village. We're just gonna call them the village, or their place where they be at. They left. Some Pillar Men left, but not all Pillar Men, left. Only some. Only a tiny bit. Only 3, you could say. Cars still stayed with the Pillar Men, pretty much upgrading the mask, unlocking his true potential, and asking for his other brother to do it, which this time it was differently, and they all agreed, and they put on their mask. They put on the mask and become powerful too. Now, we're gonna do a couple years after the whole fight between Madara and stuff. There is, I forgot to add in the extra detail. There will be a tail beast that I created. It's gonna be the Zero Tail Beast. It's pretty much a black tail beast, all black creature, creepy, pretty crazy. But you're going to figure out why. Now, the Pillar Man, and this is going to be the creation of the Pillar Man. Now, the Pillar Man, Cars, he pretty much created a tail beast. Now, this tail beast was a Zero Tail Beast. Pretty much took it from all the, tail beast chakra, because Cars acts from the Leaf Village, from Madara, from his permission, which Madara was, thinking, let me get some of that too. Which, Cars agree. Now, this is where he creates a zero tail beast. This tail beast has no tails. And no, it's not the shark, the tail beast with no tail, Kisame, no. It's going to be a zero tail beast different. Now, this zero tail beast pretty much is created, but this is a sentient tail beast, as it's intelligent like Kurama and have the high intelligence like Kurama and every other tail beast. This tail beast pretty much is created, and immediately the other tail beast noticed this, felt the presence of all that chakra, but merged in a different way. Kind of not different, like different. Not as the 10 tails, but like different. Not as dark, but weird. Like kind of like a neutral way of chaotic, but non-chaotic at the same time. Of like something much higher, you could say. But pretty much this is where Kurama tried to communicate with it. And this is where the Zero Tail Beast, and we're going to say the Pillar Man village is pretty far from all other villages, so Kurama's pretty much trying to make contact with the Zero Tail Beast, but the Zero Tail Beast is basically making contact with him. This is where Kurama pretty much talks to him, and pretty much Kurama creates another link with the other Tail Beasts, and this is where the Zero Tail Beast says, "Who are y'all?" Which pretty much this is where Kurama asks him the same thing. Well, asks the creature the same thing. What are you? This is where Kurama has a talk with it, and pretty much the Zero Tail Beast is smiling and excited, saying, "So, does that mean we're brothers and sisters?" Which this is where Kurama was about to say no until Shikaku sarcastically jokes around and says, "Ah, yes, we are brothers and sisters. Haha, we're all from the same blood and family, and our father is, Sage of Six Path," which this is where Kurama's telling the first tail beast to shut up until the Zero Tail Beast buys it and says, "Oh," and this is where the Zero Tail Beast is happy and stuff and starts coming. But this is where the all changes of it happens with the tail beast and stuff and the whole attack. This is where Madara was trying to do something with all the tail beasts and all that. This is where he has the Zero Tail Beast and try to use it until the Zero Tail Beast feels Madara's, darkness and evilness intention until he didn't awaken or, allow him to use the chakra. Eat the shark sorry about that. The shark gun doesn't work on the Zero Tail Beast. So this is where pretty much Madara. Sorry, let's get this started. So, yeah, basically, the Zero Tail Beast did not give Madara any chakra, any power, because he can sense evil content, and he didn't see him as a master, as like a high mighty or god or any of that, or had immortality or anything, because the Zero Tail Beast, how Shikaku told the Zero Tail Beast about the Sage of Staff, he talked about him as all high mighty, powerful, can bring life, can bring death, can, create things and all that. And Madara didn't have none of that shit. He only just had power, which the Zero Tail Beast didn't fuck with. So, pretty much, Madara loses and, everything happens the same. A couple years passed. Now, the Zero Tail Beast did not die with Madara, but pretty much left Madara and just, did its own thing. And no one cannot sense the Zero Tail Beast chakra because it has no chakra. Now, I know what you're thinking. It has no chakra, then this sounds like a shitty-ass tail beast. I know what you're thinking. But no, it's not. What's so unique about this tail beast, or dangerous about this tail beast, is that it can drain. It's kind of, think of it like the sun. The Zero Tail Beast is like the sun and also a black hole. It can suck anything inside of it to gain its power, to get more power, and also can give its user like more chakra and stuff, even though it doesn't have chakra. And it can just keep regenerating chakra keep regenerating chakra to the user, but not to itself. So think about that. But let's continue. Pretty much, this is where the whole Nine Tails attack happens, but something different happened. Now, this is where one of the Pillarmans is in the Leaf Village and did its own thing. Now, this Pillar Man is pretty much is a single Pillar Man, which in the clan in the village, no one doesn't really know about the Pillar Man except for like the main villages, like clans, like the Hyuga. They know about this one Pillar Man, but this one Pillar Man is pretty much not well known, but they know it's in the Leaf. He's in the Leaf Village, and he will come out when it's needed. Pretty much, this is where the Nine Tails happen. Everything happens the same. Blah blah blah. Naruto pretty much loses his parents, and he pretty much gets half of the Nine Tails Shinchuriki. Actually, well, 4 times. Let's go. But that's not important. Let's switch to Sakura. Now, this is between Sakura and the whole Nine Tails attack. Now, this is where Sakura is pretty much running and trying to go back home, but can't get back home, and her parents is pretty much injured and in a conflict and everything. Now, this is where pretty much her mother gets her out of there, but the Nine Tails hits with a beam, pretty much half the beam, you know the rest. Pretty much Sakura's mother dies, and the only person who she has left is her father. Now, after the whole Nine Tails attack happens, this is where pretty much Sakura's father becomes a heavy drinker and stuff, and we're pretty much going to pull a whole Dio Brando scenario, but not 100% completely. Now, this is where Sakura's father begins to abuse her, harass her, constantly doing stuff, torturing her, pretty much calling her useless, dumb bimbo, piece of garbage, all that. Now, this is where Sakura grows, and we're going to have her a little bit older. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much changed her hair color, because her hair color is that of her mother and father's, and she doesn't like her father. But her mother hair color was black. Was her mother Uchiha? I don't know. Maybe not, maybe so. We might find out. Pretty much, this is where Sakura hair will be kind of black and pink. To honor her mother's, to honor her mother, she'll have her hair black, while the rest is pink to still show some love of her father. Now, this is where pretty much Sakura will be constantly pushing herself to the limits to get intelligent, to get stronger, and all that. This is where she will be kind of like Dio Brando, to push her intelligence to limits and all that. Now, this is where Sakura's father will be dying. And when I say dying, I mean like he's dying. Sakura didn't poison him or anything, he's just dying. This is where Sakura begins trying her best to heal her father by doing chakra healing and stuff. But it's an uncurable disease that it's just killing him. It's basically killing his heart off. This is where Sakura's father is dying. But before he dies, he says a lot of disrespectful things to her, saying that she was useless, couldn't save him. But he says this before he's dying, in a crazy way. He says, "You are my pride and joy, daughter. And I know you tried your best, but just do your best in life." You could say, become powerful, become something more than we ever could be. And he dies off. Now, pretty much, this is where Sakura will get moved into another house or apartment. And this apartment will pretty much be Naruto's apartment, since Sakura is an orphan now. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much sees Naruto, and Naruto has a crush on Naruto. We all know that. This is where Naruto is about to go hug Sakura, so Sakura pretty much grabs him and headbutts him. This is where Sakura says that she is not his friend. She doesn't like him. She doesn't even mess with him at all, and all that. And no, it's not because of Nine Tails' attack. It's because of her family, her mother and father. So this is where Sakura will be an asshole to Naruto. Of course, this is where Naruto will still try to be friends with her and stuff. But Sakura's just not having it. Kinda. Yeah, just not having it. Now, this is where we do a little time skip. Naruto and Sakura is a little bit older. And pretty much, Naruto's doing the same thing as the original canon. While Sakura, she's pursuing more in knowledge, power, strength, and all that. She will still be friends with Ino, but not as close as friends, you could say. Sorry, I had to cough, but let's continue. Pretty much, this is where Sakura will, be friends with Ino, but not too close. Not best friends close, you could say. Now, this is where Sakura will constantly be in the library, getting stronger, learning knowledge and power, working out, constantly over pushing herself that she's not supposed to. This is where Sakura will have her hair a little bit much longer than original in canon, because she also still have a crush on Sasuke, but not as a big fat crush, you could say. Just a crush. Just a tiny big crush. This is where Sakura will constantly keep going to the library until she finds a book. Now, this book will say Pillar Man. Well, Pillar Man. Now, this book was pretty much created by the Pillar Man who was in the village, who disappeared. Probably left, but let's continue. Pretty much this is where she sees a book and a mask. Now, pretty much she opens up the book and she reads about the research of Pillar Man. Now, of course, she understands this a little bit, but not all 100%, because, like I said, Sakura is intelligent, but she's not like God intelligent, you could say. Well, we could say she's great. We could say her IQ is pretty high. Like, I'm talking about Einstein high, but not like genius high of a Pillar Man. This is where pretty much she reads the book and she starts to see their research and stuff, and sees that a Pillar Man can unlock their potential with the mask, with this unique ruby, but also they can make vampires, and vampires can use the mask to become the ultimate life form. Now, this is where pretty much Sakura will see the mask and begins to test it out, and this is where she understands. This is where she starts slowly putting on the mask, and pretty much puts on the mask, and pretty much see what it does. But it doesn't do nothing, she thinks. This is where Naruto goes in the library to say hi to Sakura to see her, which he says, "Hey, Sakura," which pretty much he runs. This is where Sakura is about to take off the mask till Naruto pretty much falls on the table, jumps and misses on the table and falls and hits his nose. This is where, when the nose hit, he pretty much hurt his nose to have a nosebleed. This is where he pretty much wiped the nose and tried to grab the mask for Sakura while he still have blood on his hands and says, "Sakura, let me see that cool mask," which pretty much this is where Sakura get encased with the mask and falls to the ground. Now, of course, this is where Sakura falls to the ground and passes out. Well, pretty much falls down. This is where Naruto, of course, freaking out and trying to figure out what's going on and trying to save Sakura. And he pretty much says, "Hold on, Sakura, I'm going to go get some help," which he pretty much runs and try to go get some help. Now, as he's running to try to get some help, this is where Sakura finally, mask breaks off, and she opens up her eyes and makes a real noise. Now, as she makes a real noise, this is where pretty much she starts looking around, and she can hear like heartbeats, her hearing gets heightened, and she's hungry. This is where she sees a little rat running in the library, and she immediately quick speed to it and grabs it and begins to drain the life from it. Now, as she's draining the life from it, the rat begins to make squeaking noise until it dies. Now, this is where Sakura hits the floor, pretty much draining the last of his blood and licking her mouth. This is where she looks around and she feels much powerful, much stronger than ever before. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much begins to look around, and she begins to see heartbeats and stuff, and notice and hear people talking. This is where she hears her friend Ino, and Ino begins to talk about Sakura. Not in a rude way, but begins to say, "I don't know. I think Sakura has changed," which this is where she's talking to Hinata, and Hinata begins to, shy bluntly saying, "No, Sakura haven't changed. Y'all still have a good friendship," which this is where Ino begins to talk to Hinata, saying, "I know, but I just wish we can become, better friends, understand each other more. If she has a problem or when she's down, she can talk to me," which, Hinata saying, "She will come around. Just give her some time," which, thanks Hinata for the speech, for the word of advice. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much gets up and runs out. But before she runs out, she feels the sun burns her a little bit. which she says, what the hell? Now, we all know Pillar Man can't walk through the sun unless you, like, his ultimate life form, which the Pillar Man did follow cars, and they're pretty much all ultimate life forms, but their village are pretty much gone. It's off the map. Pretty much no ninjas don't know where they at because the Pillar Man went to every village and erased any trace of them. Like history, everything, Pillar Man is completely gone. No one doesn't really know about the Pillar Man except like from the old elders. Like only the old elders and the old people, certain people, know about the Pillar Man. Anyone else? It's gone. They don't know. If you ask Naruto, let's say if you ask Naruto who is the Pillar Man, Naruto's gonna be like, Pillar who? Which that's what it is. And the Uchihas, they know about the Pillar Man, and they was about to sign alliance with them until they got bamboozled. We all know what happened, pretty much. Itachi. But pretty much after that, this is where only people who know about the Pillar Man is Sasuke. But he doesn't know where they at. And if he try to get power from them, well, pretty much you know you can't pretty much find them. But let's continue. Pretty much this is where Sakura goes in the hybrid, but begins to hide. This is where Naruto begins to trying to find Sakura again and trying to figure out where she's at, and pretty much have one of the teachers come in to check on Sakura. Which this is where Aruka Sensei smacked Naruto in the head and pretty much takes him out the library for having Naruto pretty much waste his time. But pretty much this is where Sakura waits the nighttime and she pretty much goes out. This is where she puts her hand out and realizes that she can only walk at night and not walk in the day. And this is where she begin to feast, you could say, and get more power. Now, this is where this will take a big turn of event of Naruto. So we could call this Sakura Shippuden now, since it's all different now. But let me stop. But yeah, let's continue. Pretty much this is where Sakura heads out and she begins to go feast. Now she begins to hunt down animals and stuff, getting stronger, feasting on animals and stuff, but she begins to look at humans and she begins to get more hungrier. Now, this is where she sees her friend, Ino. Now, this is where she's walking to her friend, Ino. And Ino notices her saying, oh, hey, Sakura. Which this is where Sakura begins to get close to Ino. Now, this is where Ino is pretty much asking Sakura, is she okay? Which Sakura pretty much hugs her and pretty much says that she's sorry that what she's going to do. Which Ino saying, what she being sorry for, which this is where Sakura pretty much backs away and begins to start crying and runs away. Which Ino doesn't know what's happening, but Sakura is pretty much gone. Now, this is where we're just going to start a couple of days. A couple of days start, and Sakura begins to stay in a different place each time. Which Naruto begins to try to look for Sakura every time, but he can never find her. Also, some teachers try to look for Sakura, but they can't find her. This is where Sakura is pretty much feasting on, rats, rabbits, dogs and cats, any animals that's like not human, so you could say. But this is where pretty much Sakura begins to says that she gotta leave the village because pretty much this is not cutting out for her. Now, this is where, as Sakura's about to leave, she pretty much goes into the Hokage office to get some stuff so she won't be, completely weaponless. So she can have, like, some powerful jutsus on her hand and stuff. This is where she opens up the scroll of sealing. A different scroll of sealing from the sealing that Naruto would get, but a different one. This is where this scroll of sealing is the Zero-Tail Beast scroll of sealing. Now, I know what you're saying. How does the Leaf Village have the Zero-Tail Beast if he's went around the world? Let me explain. Zero-Tail Beast has a summoning scroll where you can summon the Zero-Tail Beast and pretty much ask for his resistance. Now, give or take, sometimes he will kill you, sometimes he don't, or he can make you worse. Depends on his thing. But this is where Sakura pretty much sees it, and she takes that scroll with a couple of juices and the Zero Tail Beast. And also an arrow. Now, I know what you're thinking. An arrow. Oh shit, don't tell me. She's gonna. Is this a JoJo reference? Oh, yes or no? Yeah, yes and no. It's kind of a reference, but let's continue. This is where, as Sakura's going, this is where Naruto sees Sakura and begins to try to stop Sakura. This is where Sakura pretty much kicks Naruto back and tells him that she's leaving the village. Now, this is where Naruto's trying to ask Sakura why she's leaving the village. Until Sakura says it's none of his business, and she begins to, fight him back. Now, this is where Sakura gets in a rage, and he tells Sakura his true feelings for her and stuff, and says that he. I'm so sorry for coughing, but let's continue. Pretty much, this is where Sakura, begins to fight Naruto. This is where Naruto begins getting rage, and he begins to go in his first tail cloak. That original canon. This is where Naruto begins to admit his feelings for Sakura, and tells how much he had feelings for her. He always loved her and stuff. This is where Sakura pretty much smiles and shows her true vampire nature with the eyes, with the teeth, and hair and stuff. And she says, "Oh, so you have feelings for me, but at the whole time I rejected you, hated you, and all that, and called you a nine-tailed freak. You still have feelings for me?" Which, this is where Naruto begins getting more angered and says what have gotten into her and stuff. And this is where Sakura pretty much smiles at him and says that she never even liked him or even wanted to be with him or anything. And she begins to says that she has a crush on Sasuke more than him. And this is where she pretty much has a fight for Naruto. Now, getting to the stance of her being a vampire, she does have regenerative ability, so she would be regenerate in this fight with Naruto, but this is where Naruto will begin constantly, pushing her back, catching hands with her and stuff. This is where Naruto will use the multi-shot clone jutsu. Well, not the multi-shot clone jutsu, but pretty much use a clone, try to create a clone, and he creates it successfully, and they both attack Sakura. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much gets injured a little bit too much, which her healing turns gets slower. And this is where Sakura uses her last resort and shoots a laser beam. Or yeah, the string eyes at Naruto. This is where she hits Naruto in the chest, but not to his heart or anything, but pretty much in the chest and in the leg, pretty much injuring him in the process to cause him to heal. This is where Sakura will use her chance to escape and pretty much gets out of there. Now, as she gets out of there, this is where Naruto pretty much falls to the ground from, using a little bit too much of the chakra and also healing up. And Sakura will basically be on the run. Now, this is where pretty much Hiruzen will put on a hunt for Sakura to bring her back because she has one of the scrolls. But Sakura will be a little bit more gone than anyone else. Now, let's do a couple weeks now. Yeah, a couple weeks now. Now, actually, let's do a hot week. Yeah. Now, this week will pretty much be between the Zabuza bridge building arc. Now, Sakura will pretty much be in a laboratory. Well, pretty much be in a secret Uchiha hideout laboratory that Uchiha's had. They was doing experiences and stuff. But this is where Sakura pretty much find a bed and multiple stuff. And she will somehow says this will be used as my invention stuff. Now, of course, this is where Sakura will pretty much be reading from the scroll ceiling. She will learn a lot of jutsus such as fire style, fireball jutsu, which we're just gonna say her natures are fire and lightning. Yeah, fire and lightning. Now, pretty much this is where Sakura will learn fireball jutsu. Also she will learn um Shidori. We're just gonna say she's gonna learn Shidori for a reason. No, she's gonna learn Shidori, but she's gonna make it into her own thing. She also learn lightning armor. Well, lightning cloak armor. Um, she will also learn a little bit about Uchihas and how to obtain eyes or how to pretty much get Uchiha DNA and stuff. Also, this is where she will see more jutsus like Mochishako Jutsu and other that stuff. Now, this is where Sakura will read a little bit more downer and she will see pretty much a seal. Now, this is where she puts her hand on the seal and puts in chakra, which this is where the chakra begins to take a lot. Now, since Sakura is a vampire, she won't die from losing chakra loss. So, this is where, let's continue. This is where Sakura will pretty much, put in all her chakra that she doesn't even know that she lost a lot to pretty much kill her. But she will be a little tired. This is where the Zero-Tailed Beast will come and pretty much look at Sakura, which this Zero-Tailed Beast can change form to any creature, to any animal, to Karamba. Pretty much it has no form, but it takes whatever form to, precede the person. Now, the Zero-Tailed Beast will pretty much be a person, like a female, and pretty much will be talking to Sakura. And this is where Sakura asks who is this person, like, who is her, which pretty much Zero-Tailed Beast will smile and says, well, I'm the Zero-Tailed Beast, which Sakura says, Zero-Tailed Beast. This is where pretty much the Zero-Tailed Beast will explain its story, basically explaining like how it was created and stuff, and that he is the son, one of the children of the Sage of Six Path, the children that was not supposed to be born. But it also smiled because he's happy that he was born to meet his brother's sister. But he doesn't know where they're at now, and he's trying to figure out how to get to them and help them, because he heard the last one who called for help was pretty much the Two Tails before it was gone, and it couldn't sense its chakra no more. Chakra no more. This is where Sakura, feels bad for it and begins to show her a little bit humanity side still, and begins to talk to it. Now, this is where they will create a sort of bond, and this is where the Zero-Tailed Beast makes a deal with Sakura. This is where the Zero-Tailed Beast says that it will form a link with Sakura, give whatever power she need and stuff. In exchange, she help it, you could say, to find its brothers and sisters and help them out. Which pretty much, this is where Sakura will agree, and they begins to form a link and a bond. Now, immediately Sakura feels the whole pressure of the Zero-Tails, but like I said, the Zero-Tailed Beast takes the chakra from your body and kills you before he forms a link with you. But since Sakura, won't die from it, Sakura pretty much just passes out. But when she wakes up, they 100% is linked. So Sakura can now take chakra from people to add on her own by just touching them or just absorbing, kind of like pain thing. But also, she can just look at them and drain their chakra. And she can do other feats with the Zero-Tailed Beast. I won't go into too much of detail, but I will, if y'all do want more detail, I will put it kind of in the Discord. Or just on the comments. But let's continue. This is where pretty much Sakura will wake back up, and she says, let's get to research. Now, this is where Sakura will be kind of doing her own thing, such as more research. She'll also learn more about the Pillar Man and how to create another mask, and the Ultimate Life Form mask, which that will take her about a couple of months. So, yeah. But this is where she's doing the research stuff. This is where she gets a job from a mercenary guy saying that she would get a lot of money if she, joins in on this thing. Now, this is where Sakura accepts the deal and to help out Zabuza and Haku with their job to take out this one guy. Sakura really don't know the bridge builder, but she really doesn't give a damn. She just wants the money so she can do her funds and stuff. Now, of course, this is where Sakura will join up, and begins to meet Zabuza and Haku. Now, of course, the first look at Zabuza looks at Sakura, and Sakura is pretty much the same age as Haku. And I should probably tell you this. Since Sakura is a vampire, I'm going to add her to age, but she's going to only age all the way up to her teenager, her post-time skip Sakura. And that's it. She's not going to age any further, and that's pretty much going to be it. But pretty much this is where Sakura... this is where Sakura meets Zabuza. And Zabuza looks at Haku with, blood loss and stuff. And Sakura doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But this is where she begins to smile and begins to give him a creepy look, which pretty much Zabuza begins to start shaking. He pees himself a little bit because Sakura giving out so much blood loss that it makes him cough up a little bit of blood. That's how bad she giving out the blood loss right now. And Haku can also feel it. And Haku, he's shitless. Haku's gonna be a guy in this, but he's pretty much shitless. He's scared as fuck. But this is where pretty much the boss man pretty much says, meet Sakura Haruno. She will be pretty much your third partner. Please get along with her and kill that guy. Which pretty much, this is where they form alliance. Now, this is where everything happens the same with the whole bridge building. The whole, the whole meeting of Zabuza. Now, Sakura will be hiding just for backup with Haku. But pretty much this is where Naruto, Sasuke, and for this team, it will be Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata. Actually, Rock Lee. What the hell? We're gonna add Rock Lee. We're gonna add that mix up. Pretty much this is where that's gonna be Team 7. Now, pretty much this is where Rock Lee will pretty much challenge Zabuza to a fight, which this is where Mike Guy... Actually, no, Rock Lee wouldn't be in Team 7 because Mike Guy needs to be in it too. So, we're going to switch out. Pretty much it's going to be Hinata. But pretty much this is where Hinata begins to defend Zabuza while... No, Tazuna. Well, yeah, pretty much being in front of Tazuna to block any attacks, while pretty much Sasuke and Naruto has to help Kakashi get out the bar bubble. Pretty much everything happens the same until... Sorry, let's continue. But yeah, this is where pretty much Sakura would just be watching Zabuza and making sure he gets the job done. This is where Sakura begins to get impatient while she's messing with her nails. And her nails is pretty much black, and she's just messing around with them and pretty much saying, is he going to hurry up and kill them or what? Which this is where Sakura looks behind the tree and sees that it's sees that it's Hinata, Sasuke, and Naruto. This is where Sakura begins to second doubt and try not to, not thinking about leaving this, but she thinks, no, I already did this far, it's time to kill this one guy. As she started her mega beam, this is where Zabuza gets attacked, and the same thing happens, and pretty much Zabuza, Sakura, and Haku escapes. Now, at the camp, this is where Sakura is pretty much reading a book, and she's pretty much relaxing. While this is where Zabuza says he's going to pretty much... Yeah, this is where Zabuza is pretty much resting in the bed, but pretty much this is where Haku and Sakura has a talk with each other. Now, this is where Haku talks to Sakura, and Sakura pretty much talks to Haku, and they pretty much have a good connection with each other. This is where Sakura explains her life story and how she wants to become the most powerful ninja. No, the best ninja of them all. Like, she wants to become more than a ninja. Like, much stronger. Something higher. Powerful. Like, you know, like, want to reach to higher of the heavens and stuff, you could say. This is where Haku, sees it. And Haku pretty much, have a talk. And Sakura and Haku make a good bond with each other. Now, the next day, pretty much, Sakura will learn water walking from Zabuza. And they will create a good bond with each other, which Sakura will pretty much thank Zabuza from teaching her wall climbing. Pretty much calls him and pretty much smiles at him and says, if I was looking for a father figure, I would make you as a good. I would think you as a good father. Which Zabuza begins to blush and says to shut up before he kills her. Which Sakura smiles. Now we're gonna get to the bridge part. Now everything happened the same, except this is where it'd be a different with Sakura being in the mix. Now this is where Haku will pretty much have a fight with Sasuke and Naruto, and pretty much Sakura will be in the mix too, which she's pretty much just walking very slowly. Which this is where Naruto noticed Sakura, which Hinata also noticed Sakura, and they begin to say Sakura, which this is where Kakashi says, Sakura, what's she doing here? Which this is where Sakura pretty much says, isn't it obvious? I'm here to get my money. Which this is where Sakura begins to have a fight with Naruto in the glass mirror. Now, Haku and Sakura teamwork is not bad. It's pretty good. It's like a B plus. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much take dodging the symbol needles, but also attacking Sasuke and stuff, and also leading to have attacks on Naruto and Sasuke. So Naruto and Sasuke is taking more damage than usual in the canon. Now, this is where Sasuke will unlock his Sharingan, but he will unlock his 3 Tomoe because he's pushing extra hard in the original and canon. Now, as Sasuke's dodging the symbol needles and shooting fireballs at the glass, and also shooting at Sakura, Sakura pretty much dodges with ease and says, I thought Uchiha was so powerful. Sasuke, I thought you was much stronger and cooler. I guess I was wrong. Which this is where Naruto tells Sakura to shut up, and he begins to create shot clones to attack Sakura. Of course, this is where Sakura begins to dispatch the clones and stuff, and she begins to smack half the clones and stuff, and begins to grab them, and begins to take half of the chakra. Take the chakra from Naruto, from the clones, which Naruto's feeling a little bit more weaker than usual. Now, as that's happening, this is where the same thing happens as with Canon, and pretty much Haku shoots the symbol needles, which this is where Sasuke dodge out, comes in the way, pretty much saving Naruto, and thinking that Sasuke did. This is where Naruto begins to get in his outrage and turns into the Two Tails. It begins to charge at charge at Sakura and Haku. Now, this is where Sakura smiles and says, "Oh, I got nothing to fear about this." And this is where Naruto throws a massive fist, a Rasengan. Yeah, throws a Rasengan at Sakura, which Sakura pretty much catches with ease and her hands begins to take damage, but she begins to drain all the chakra from Naruto. This is where Naruto's saying what the hell is going on, until Sakura punches him in the stomach and punches him by the side. This is where Haku doesn't take a lot of damage as usual canon, but she does see Zabuza about to die by Kakashi. Now this is where Haku's about to run in to take the blow hit until Sakura comes in and pretty much just stops Kakashi's hand from me touching Zabuza. This is where she pretty much grabs his arm and throws Kakashi at the railing, pretty much hurting him. This is where Sakura smiles and says, "Are you okay, Zabuza?" Which, this is where Zabuza sweats a little and says, "Yeah, I thought I was gone there." Now, this is where, of course, the henchman goons will come in and pretty much says that he wasn't going to pay them any of the money, which this is where Sakura gets pissed off and says, "Well, I knew this would happen, so I kind of wanted to test out this new power on you and your goons." Which, this is where He says, "What? What do you mean?" Until Sakura shows her stand and is shadowed the world. Now, this is where pretty much Sakura covers her face. And, well, not cover. Well, no, not cover her face yet. But this is where she charges at them. And she begins to use the techniques from Shadow of the World and also her own techniques. This is where she's punching holes through guys' chests, ripping hearts out, draining them and stuff. And she turns some of them into zombies. Now the zombies that are under Sakura, she pretty much tells them to kill the rest of the men or, basically drain them out of blood. This is where the ones that are zombies draining blood, getting stronger, and Sakura's just having a whole feast day of power. Now, after it's all done, and she kills the boss guy, this is where she lets go of the body, lets it drop, which she begins to start smiling, and she pretty much turns around, and she pretty much says that this is the power she's been waiting for, and she can't wait to get more power. This is where the Zero Tail Beast tells Sakura they gotta go. Which, this is where before they go, this is where as Sakura is going, it tells Haku and Zabuza bye. The Kurama pretty much talks to the Zero Tail Beast and pretty much tells him, "What are you doing with her?" Which pretty much the Zero Tail Beast says, "Oh, nothing. I'm just going to bring back Father. Well, once I save y'all guys." Which pretty much Kurama says, "What does that mean?" Which the Zero Tail Beast don't say nothing, and pretty much they're gone. Now we're gonna do the Chunin exams art, and this is where pretty much Sakura is in her lab, pretty much making experiments and stuff, and now her zombies have turned into vampires, since from the feeding off criminals, people who were wanted. Pretty much Sakura became a kind of bounty hunter, hunting down bounties and stuff. But instead of keeping them alive, she pretty much kills them and just takes their power and jutsus and stuff. And also her zombies. Does some of the missions too. Now, this is where she's in her lab and she pretty much got some Uchiha DNA. And she begins to says, with this power, I'm going to become even more stronger. Which, this is where one of the zombie henchmen, or the vampires now, the vampire henchman says, "What are you going to do with that, boss?" Which pretty much she says, "Oh, just going to inject it to myself." Which, this is where she ejected DNA inside of her. Now, this is where she falls to the ground and she feels the pain, which you could say her goons begins to try to get her, which pretty much Sakura says, "Step back, she got this." She gets back up, and this is where she begins to focus chakra in her eyes, and she creates a Sharingan, but her own unique Sharingan way. Which these will have like unique patterns. It's like those eyes right there, but but they're like green. Instead of red, it's like green, and it has the tumbleweeds. This is where she feels the power, and she begins to tell one of them to attack her, which one of them tried to attack her with the sword. And also vampiric abilities, but she just dodges it with ease. Like, she had all the time in the world to dodge it, and she did. She's not afraid now, you could say. She got more powerful, but a little bit more arrogant, you could say. Now, this is where Sakura will begin to do more research and stuff. And this is where she will kind of have more vampires, because she figure out the way to create more vampire masks. But she has a specially designed mask to pretty much become the ultimate life form. Now, this is where pretty much Sakura will pretty much gets to talk from the Zero Tail Beast, which this is where the Zero Tail Beast will tell her of what's happening to her first, to the first Tail Beast, and that it's getting controlled by Orochimaru. We're just gonna say Orochimaru pretty much controlled Gar Tail Beast with a seal, powerful seal. Which this is where Zero Tail Beast asks Sakura to help the Jinchuriki and also the first Tail Beast to to save them and stuff. This is where Sakura agrees and she begins to head back to the Leaf Village. Now, this is where she tells her goons to stay behind while she goes. Now, this is where she creates some type of umbrella, some type of umbrella device to pretty much, not burn in the sun. And even if she does have more power, like she can go in the sun without an umbrella, but it would drain her of her power a little bit. But the Chinchuriki can fill her up, but you get what I'm saying. She doesn't want to feel all that pain like that. So pretty much she goes to Leaf Village. Now, this is where the attack is happening. And Naruto, now this is where pretty much Sakura sees Naruto and Gar having a fight. And also Sasuke. This is where the Zero-Tailed Beast tells Sakura to run and charge right at Gar. And pretty much to, latch onto him. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much with incredible speed, charge straight at Gar and begins to hit him with multiple barrages. Like, multiple sharp claws barrages. With a little bit chakra increase into it. This is where Gar begins, armor begins to break and he begins to take physical damage from Sakura. Now, this is where Sakura turns her claws into fist and begins to punch the absolutely shit out of Gar. Now, after she knocks out Gar, she begins to drain Gar a little bit of his blood, just to only get his sand released, and also his power. This is where also the Zero-Tailed Beast takes his advantage to pretty much fix Shikaku's seal, and also help Gar to be, much more stable now. This is where the Zero-Tailed Beast says we're done. But this is where Sakura sends Orochimaru and says, hold on, I need something from him. Which, they pretty much go to Orochimaru. Now, this is where Naruto's trying to stop Sakura, but Sakura's not having it. And she pretty much just goes. And Naruto passes out. With also Sasuke seeing Sakura and pretty much passes out too. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much charges to where Orochimaru's at. And pretty much Hiruzen is having a fight with Orochimaru right now. And with the two Hokages. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much charges in and does pierces two of them. Two of the first Hokage and second Hokage. And this is where she says now. And she pretty much brings the Hokages a little bit more back to life. Just to get their blood and their DNA. This is where she drains them. And they hit the ground, but they begin to get back up until Sakura shoots laser beams at them and pretty much shoot their heads off. This is where Orochimaru says, who are you? Which Sakura pretty much, with great speed, comes in and pierces Orochimaru in the stomach. Which, this is where Hiruzen knows this is Sakura saying, Sakura Haruno, what you doing here? Which, this is where Sakura is saying, well, I came here to get his research and knowledge and stuff. By draining him. Which, this is where Orochimaru gets drained to death. But, Orochimaru, he always escapes slithering away. This is where pretty much he shoots out a snake before he dies and lets his other body just dies out. Now, as that's happening, this is where Hiruzen asks Sakura what does she want, which Sakura pretty much begins to smile and says, well, I don't want nothing. I just came here for him. And also to help out with something else. But that's it, I'm gone. Now, this is where Sakura's about to go. This Hiruzen pretty much tells her she's not going anywhere. Until Sakura shoots Hiruzen in the leg with a laser beam and says that he has no authority over her, and she pretty much gets the fuck out of there. Now, since we already know what's happening, the turn of events has changed. Hiruzen's now not dead by Orochimaru, and Orochimaru is not dead, but he's weakened now. He can still use his arms, he's just weakened now. Because of Sakura. Now, this is where Sakura pretty much leaves the Leaf Village and heads back to her, secret lab facility. And she begins to pass out on the ground. Now, this is where her henchman begins to take her and put her to the bed and lay her down. Which, this is where she begins to go through a lot of changes now. Now, this is where her hair gets a little bit longer. And she begins to grow branches, like little leaf branches from her fingertips. And they begin to, go back inside and stuff, go back to number and stuff. And she's just feeling all the DNA go through her. Now, this is where she wakes back up. And she pretty much gets up from bed. Yeah, she pretty much gets up. Yeah, she pretty much gets up from her bed, and she pretty much looks around. Now, this is where pretty much as she's walking to one of her tube chambers and stuff. This is where one of her experiments is a scientist too, and her experiments pretty much walks to her and says, "Sakura, Lord Sakura, are you okay?" Which pretty much she says she's fine, and she pretty much asks what's the situation. Which this is where uh her one of her lab experiments is a scientist, you could say. Well, pretty much explains to her that the test subject pretty much is almost complete, which Sakura is pretty much smiling, saying, "Good." Now this is where pretty much Sakura will start heading to the Cloud Village to pretty much get some more stuff and materials, and also get the ruby thing because she heard it's from the Cloud Village. Well, no, she pretty much heads to the Pillar Man, known one of the known locations where they was last seen at. Which this is where as she's going, she covers her. She pretty much she has a shadow cover her face, so she pretty much gonna look like that with her face covered up. This is where she's heading to the the Cloud Village, and pretty much she begins to get more information, and she starts following the Pillarmen where they last seen at. Well, the legend has it. This is where she heads to the place, and this is where she finds the Pillarman place. Well, village. This is where she slowly walks around, and she she sees a lot of Pillarmen. Now, this is where she's pretty much sneaking around, and she's going to see, trying to grab what she needs to grab. Now, this is where she sees the bloodstone, you could say, and she pretty much grabs it. And before she leaves, this is where one of the Pillarmen notices her and says, "Hey, what you doing here?" This is where Sakura uses her stand, Shadow the World, and pretty much punches the Pillar Man into the wall. Pretty much stunning him, but not, hurting him. This is where he pretty much gets up and says, "That hurted a little bit. Now, you're going to tell me why you're here in our village?" Which this is where Sakura pretty much stops time for a short second, because this is her first time using it. And she pretty much runs a couple of meters away. Now, this is where the Pillarmans are all higher, and they're pretty much catching up on Sakura. Not fully catching up on her, but they're almost there on her ass. This is where Sakura stopped time again, and her time stop is much longer than usual, and she's realizing that. This is where pretty much she starts running, and she gets out of there. And she pretty much cover up her tracks so she can't get followed. And they haven't seen her face, so they don't know who she is to go after her. So this is where Cars gets news that someone took the Bloodstone, which Cars already became the ultimate life form, but he ain't trying to rule the world or anything. He's just trying to make his people much stronger. Pretty much this is where Cars hears about the stone getting taken away, which this is where Cars says, okay, we'll just leave it for now. Which the Pillar Man is saying, "What do you mean?" Which Cars says, "We'll just leave it for now. We find out later on." Now, this is where Sakura has the stone, and she pretty much has the mask that's custom made for it, and she puts the stone in the mask. Now, this is where the Akatsuki will pretty much know where Sakura location at. Well, no. Yeah, this is where no, not yet. The Akatsuki doesn't know yet, but pretty much this is where Sakura pretty much heads back to her secret facility, and this is where Sakura comes back in. This is where the vampires and zombies and the Lord Henchmen and also the maids and stuff says, "Welcome back, Lord Sakura," which Sakura says, "Glad to be back." Now, this is part 1 of What If Sakura had Shadow the World and was Dio Brando. If you like, let's get this up to 50 likes, maybe 100, and I'll do part 2. But I'm Keyshawn Chia. Thanks for watching, and peace out.
like you lost another one.